여보세요. My name is Sonal Pam, and today I'm going to be reading chapters 1 and 2 of my old Undertale fanfiction called An Open World. If you haven't seen the video, or you don't remember, I did a video of redrawing some of the art that I did for this character, Lexi, that is the protagonist of this story. If you haven't seen it, I will probably have an iCard here, or I will leave it at the end of this video for you to check it out. If you like seeing people do art stuff, then you can go watch my video. That'd be awesome. Anyway, I'm gonna get started. Chapter 1 is called A New World. Just see how it goes. Oh, also, I'm gonna be doing voices for the characters. They're not gonna be great, it's just enough for you to tell like who's talking. So, dark, desolate, a void of which was black and empty. What seemed endless, a floor of glass reflected the colorless sky above. I laid flat on the floor beneath me. Like a statue, I felt like I haven't moved in half a century. I sensed my blood moving faster in my body. I noticed feeling coming back into my fingertips and toes. My body ached from the motionlessness. I started to get up from the ice-cold floor. I looked at myself in the mirror-like reflection. I had dark chocolate ears and tail, a navy hoodie with orange sleeves and stripes across the front of the jacket, wrapped around my waist. No wonder I was so cold. I put on my jacket over my white shirt and feel the warm, fluffy rim of the hood rest on my neck. Seeing nothing around me, I decided to wander through the desolate place. But before I could take a single step, a world flashed before me. My heart paused due to the suddenness of the new environment and surroundings. This looked familiar. Not as if I had been there before, but as if I've seen it through the eyes of a character from a video game. Frisk. I didn't understand. I couldn't comprehend that this world actually existed. I was in Undertale. I was in my favorite video game. My surroundings were bleak. I was in the cave that Frisk is in at the beginning of the game. But something was different. I walked down the hall where Flowey would usually appear, but he wasn't there. I just figured the time I entered the timeline was after Frisk started their adventure, but if that was the case, Toriel would have been in the garden, watering the golden flower bed like she does in the game. Maybe Frisk is still in the ruins, I thought to myself. I decided I would remain quiet. I didn't want to interrupt the timeline in case Frisk and Toriel were in the next chamber. I went into the next room. There were buttons on the floor, and an open door in front of me. Since the switches were already pressed, I went through the open door and continued walking. When I entered the next room, I started to become anxious. The dummy wasn't there. Maybe Frisk did that thing where you check it so many times that the dummy flies away, I questioned myself. Maybe the Frisk in this timeline is just a jerk and is just seeing what would happen if they bothered someone. I calmed down slightly and continued moving forward. As I continued through the rooms, none of the monsters were there. Frogget, Vegetoid, Winsome, Looks, Napsterblook. None of them appeared as I walked through each and every room. I started to have a cold sweat. Maybe the Frisk in this timeline isn't Frisk at all. Maybe. I didn't even want to think about it. Out of all the timelines I was in the genocide route. I eventually ended up at Toriel's house. I didn't want to see what they have done to her, but I knew that I didn't have any other option but to keep going. As I walked through the rooms of the house, I was astonished by the beauty of each room. When I entered the kitchen, the remainder of the butterscotch cinnamon pie was left on the countertop. I had decided to wrap some tinfoil on the top of the pie and put it in my backpack. I'm going to need it, I thought to myself. I considered the fact that since all the monsters would be laid to rest, that there would be no way to make money. Therefore, there would be no way to pay for any food, other than stealing from Snowden, which I was not intending on doing. I went down into the basement and walked down the long corridor. This hallway is even longer than I thought it was, I thought. I got to the end and saw the one thing I was hoping that wouldn't be there. Toriel's dust. My eyes began to tear up and several tears went down my face. Wiping away the tears, I went back up the stairs and grabbed a broom, a dustpan, and a vase. When I returned, I swept up Toriel with a broom and put her in the vase. I figured it was the least I could do for one of my favorite characters. I stared at the large door ahead of me and I was frightful of what was ahead. But I knew deep down that I had to stop what was happening before it was too late. I went through the door and everything turned white. And it was at that moment I decided my fate. Now, the one thing that you're going to be like, oh, this is such a tiny thing, don't even worry about it. But this one thing that I worried about so much was this flipping backpack. The one that I put the butterscotch cinnamon pie into. Oh boy. The one problem is that I put it down someplace in the story, or Lexi does. And, Lexi, if you haven't figured it out, is a self-insert. Definitely a cringy 13-year-old writer fanfiction thing to do. But yes, Lexi is a complete self-insert. If that changes your view completely, that's totally fine. I can understand why. I don't know, I guess I thought that this character being so similar to myself, like the best thing to, like how to write a character is to get into their head and like really understand them. It's like, oh, if they're just me, that's an easier way than actually coming up with a character to actually develop and understand deeper. Anyway, we will keep going on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is called A Blank Town. So you can see these titles are very deep. Oh gosh. I feel like a lot of the writing is deep too. Like, tears roll down my face. The cold, the warmth. Okay. I think it's just too detailed and it's kind of weird. But anyway, let's keep going on to Chapter 2. The smog of the blinding white light quickly faded into the snowy forest. I recognized that this was the pathway to Snowdon. I started my way down the snowy path. Every time I exhaled, I saw fog coming out of my nose, and the trees were so tall that you couldn't see the top of them. As I took my first step on the gate thingy that Papyrus made, I turned around and saw that nothing was there. I guess Sans is still preoccupied with Frisk, I theorized in my head. Still afraid of altering the timeline, I continued to not make any unnecessary sounds until I could talk to Sans. As I went steadily down the path, it was eerily peaceful due to the fact that I didn't need to do anything but continue forward. My travels came to a sudden stop when I started to hear voices coming from the remaining path in front of me. It was Sans and Papyrus. I concealed myself behind a tree and watched the scene take place. Sans, where is the puzzle? Papyrus shouted at Sans.
It's right there, on the ground. Trust me. There's no way they'll skip this one,
said Sans in a relaxed voice. I watched the scene play out. It wasn't until Frisk and Papyrus left the area when Sans stopped smiling and sighed.
Okay, kid. You can come out now.
I was shocked that Sans knew I was there.
What? You scared or something? They're both gone. Just come out,
Sans said. I slowly revealed myself from behind the tree and walked towards Sans.
So, what's your name, kid?
Asked Sans. My name is Lexi, I answered.
Well, Lexi, at this point, I'm assuming that you already know what is happening here. I'm also going to assume that you're what I like to call new to the underground.
He circled around, looking at my appearance.
An update, maybe?
Update, I said.
Yeah, I mean, you're not part of the original timeline, so you're either from an alternate timeline or an update for this timeline.
Sans looks off to the distance.
Look, I have to get going. If I'm not there for the next scene, the timeline will jump out of whack completely. Meet me at Grilby's, okay? See you then.
And in a flash, he was gone. My name is Lexi, I thought to myself. You got a chance to talk to your favorite character in the whole game, and that's all you say? Jeez, I really need to work on my people skills. And I still do. Sorry. I kept walking and saw the bridge.
You idiot!
I turned around and saw Flowey.
You really think you can stop Kara and I? You're just like that skeleton. You think the same way, die the same way. After that, it won't really matter what happens.
If I do fail, your choice to support them will blow up in your face, I told the flower.
We'll see.
Flowey disappeared back into the ground. I crossed the bridge and there I was, in Snowdon. It was so quiet. What I can remember as a small, happy town was now a home for hopelessness and despair. I entered Grilby's expecting Sans to be there, but he wasn't. I put my backpack on the counter and sat on one of the bar stools, waiting for Sans to arrive. As I waited, I thought about the things that Sans said. I looked down at my hands and asked myself, am I new? What kind of update would there be to just create a new character? And even if I was, wouldn't I have a script? Or have a house? Or have some kind of point in the story? I sat there and, without really noticing, I laid my head on the table and fell asleep. I'm woken up by a light tap on the shoulder. It was Sans. He looked so depressed. I looked down at his left hand clenching a red scarf. I figured by this time, Papyrus was dead. Sans looked at the scarf and then looked up at me.
No matter how many times I see him die, that same sharp pain always returns to me. Anyways, you got any idea of how you're gonna help stop Kara? You know, magic. Any qualities that you have that would actually be useful?
Was the only thing I could say.
Alright, I'm gonna make this easy for you.
Sans snapped his fingers and the room turned black.
Ready?
He shot a gaster blaster. I jumped to avoid the blast, but I descended quickly and got hit just before the gaster blaster stopped firing. My shoes and feet were charred. I could barely stand. Sans had a surprised look on his face.
I was really expecting something to happen. Let's try again, shall we?
Rows of bones came towards me. I had to jump at the perfect height as to not get hurt. Thankfully, I went through the turn without a scratch. I could see that Sans was quickly becoming agitated, and his pupils left his eyes.
Alright. If you haven't used any magic at this point, I really think that you're useless to this cause.
I could feel the nubs of bones piercing the ground below me. This was it. I scrambled and unconsciously jumped as high as I could, and I didn't come back down. I was in a standstill between the floor and the black sky. I was floating. Sans forced the bones back into the ground, and he started to smile.
Alright. You can dodge attacks. That's something. But it's not enough.
He allowed me to slowly reach the ground, and he immediately surrounded me with a cage of bones, and 2 gaster blasters appeared on the opposite sides of the cage.
This is going to be my final move. If you can't find something to shield yourself, then you're really not going to like what happens next.
Gaster blasters were heating up. I didn't know what to do. I looked deep down inside myself, looking for something I hadn't seen before. Closed my eyes, waiting to be evaporated, but there was silence. I opened my eyes and found myself surrounding a sphere of clear ice. I could see Sans through the glass-like sphere. He was shocked. He quickly made the bones of gaster blasters disappear, and the scene returned to normal. Sans ran towards me and marveled at the sphere I created.
Alright, you won, I guess. Sorry I got no gold for you, but it would be pretty ice if you came out of that bubble.
He said, just barely able to keep a straight face. I started to laugh at his pun, and the ice quickly melted. He immediately joined in laughing. I got up from the floor and extended my hand to give him a handshake. His smile grew more when he said,
Don't give me the cold shoulder. Come here.
He grabbed my hand and pulled me in for a hug.
Well, now that we know that you do have magic, we can head off to Alphys' lab. I've kept Alphys and Undyne waiting long enough. After they see how cool you are, I'm sure they'll appreciate a new recruit.
Sans said as he extended his hand to me. But won't the timeline get messed up if I come with you? I asked.
The timeline only really consists of what the character, in this case, Kara, sees. As long as the script or any other factor doesn't change, then we're okay. But before we get there, I have to make a quick stop first, he answered.
I took his hand, becoming curious of what the first stop could be, but just like that, we were on our way to Alphys's lab. I know what you're gonna think, and you're totally right. Sans is in the story a lot. He is gonna be in here a lot because he is one of the only characters that understands the game, or that the world is a game. Thing like that is, I wanted this story to be about the timeline and this character, Lexi, which is myself pretty much, and experiencing the world in a way that I wasn't just like a character in it. I was just this weird thing that didn't really need or have to exist, but just like figuring it out in that way. The powers, I don't know why I came up with them. I know I came up with them because I wanted her to have magic, but like the specificness of the floating and the ice, it's just, they don't go together. I feel like if you're going to have powers, then they should go together or have less than two. Yeah, you should only really have one, is all I'm saying. I just felt that my character was better than my friend's character. I had a friend that introduced me to this site because they wanted me to read their fan fiction, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna go make my own now, and that's what happened. But their character was fire, angel wings, and then not explained in the middle of it, healing. And I was just like, that's so much. I think she had one more thing too, but I don't remember, it was so long ago. But just like looking back at that and then looking at my own character, I was like, oh, my character's really good because she has like normal powers, and I'm not going to introduce something weird and right in the middle, unexplained. So there you go. But they just don't correlate, and I feel like they should correlate. Just kind of weird, honestly. And then I thought the thing with the interaction between Lexi and Sans is also really awkward, because wouldn't Sans think you're just another NPC, like, you know, and not really know about what's going on and timelines and all that stuff? I feel like he wouldn't know that stuff, or wouldn't act towards my character in that way unless I said something. So I just felt like that was weird, and then also forcing Lexi to like know her powers and that, because one, I mean, I know like she wouldn't know it because she never did it before, but at the same time, like if he just killed her, like that wouldn't be good. I could, like in my head, I could see he's really stressed at this point. He's just trying to fix it so that it can be reset and he can just have it back to normal and have an actual like good ending, I guess. So he's just trying to figure out what options do I have, and I guess this is supposed to be his quickest and easiest option to get this out of her if she's not gonna explain it verbally. I just still feel like it's awkward. And then I have a love-hate relationship with the don't give me the cold shoulder, come here, and the hug thing, because I like it because it shows that he's been really desperate and he sees this as like somewhat of a saving grace, but at the same time it's just so weird. Well, that's gonna be it for this video. If you have any questions about this story so far, or you want to say how you want me to have like a face cam, because I didn't think to set up a face cam and then I didn't figure out how to do that. So if you want that next time, I will set it up for next time. If you want other videos for me to do, then suggest them. I'm going to be doing this in a series. I have 6 more chapters to go. I didn't do them like all together because I put them in word counter and it said it would take me like 53 minutes to read all of it, and that plus commentary would probably be like an hour and a half, and no one would watch that. So I'm splitting it up into 4 parts, 2 chapters an episode, and doing it that way. I'm either going to do it every other week, or I'm just going to do it all throughout the next month, like new one part of this every week. If you have a preference, then let me know, and I will definitely do that. If not, then I will just decide what works for me then. Alright, cool. Well, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe for the parts to come and for other wacky videos I make next. Alright, this outro has been going on far too long, so I will see you guys next time.